Hey y'all, welcome to Camirra's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a beef stew as well as some slaw to go with it. In my stew, I used a little bit of plantain to add a bit of sweetness, which was so delicious. Guys, keep watching to get the full recipe. Now, here are all the seasonings that I'm using for my beef. Most of you guys should have these in your cabinets. I'm also using a pepper, carrot, plantain, onion. I have about 2.5 pounds of already cut up stew meat, but you can also use a chuck roast and cut that up, some green onions, as well as some herbs. Now, I've already washed and dried my meat, and to this, I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, half a teaspoon of oregano, and half a teaspoon of thyme. I'm adding a little bit of the W sauce as well as about a teaspoon of each one of these seasonings. Of course, you should season to taste. Now, the Yes That Much seasoning is by another creator, Kimmy's Creations. This is like a garlic butter seasoning. You could probably get a similar taste from Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse, but I really love that seasoning. It's really tasty on my meats and in my stews. And y'all, you know we gotta support the black women that's working hard out here, so I love that too. I'm adding about a teaspoon of kitchen bouquet because I want that brownness on my meat, okay? Y'all know the melanated people like the melanated meat, okay? I let that sit for about 30 minutes at room temperature, and then I went in with some ghee, but you could use olive oil, on a medium-high skillet. I'm going to add in my beef and I'm going to brown it. Now, I'm not going to stir it too much because I want it to get a little bit brown on every side. In total, this is going to take about 5 minutes. Then I am going to go in with that chopped up onion and pepper and about a tablespoon of minced garlic and a tablespoon of green seasoning. I'm going to mix this together, and initially I'm not going to add any water. This meat has some water in it, and you want to draw that moisture out because that has a lot of flavor. So I'm going to put in my oregano, thyme, and rosemary, and then I'm going to cover this and let this simmer on medium-low for about 30 minutes. And when you look at all that broth, okay, this is why you don't want to add a lot of water in the beginning. I'm going to let this simmer on low for about 1 hour. Now, while that's simmering, I'm going to prepare a slaw that will go really well with this. I'm doing one of my least favorite things in the kitchen, which is grating. I started grating, and then I gave up and said, you know what? I'm just going to thin slice that cabbage. Okay. I put it in my bowl, and then I grated in a really nice and delicious carrot. Now, I know they sell those pre-shredded slaw mixes, but they just aren't that fresh to me. I'll use them in a pinch, but I just like the fresh stuff. Now, this is not going to be a mayo heavy slaw. I'm actually going to dress this with a little bit of olive oil, red wine vinegar, the juice of half of a lemon, but you could also use half of a lime. And then I'm going to add salt, pepper, and sugar to my taste. I started out trying to mix this with tongs, and then halfway through I was like, you know what, forget this. I just washed my hands and I added a little bit of oregano and just decided to go in with my hands and just mix all the flavors together. Then I covered this and I let this sit in the fridge until I was ready with my beef. Now, my beef has been simmering on low in total for 1.5 hours. Now I'm going to add my carrots and as well as some sliced up plantain. Now, if you don't want to use plantain, you can use potato instead, but I wanted to experiment with this today just to add a little bit of sweetness, and to be honest, I thought it tasted great. I'm then going to add a tablespoon of beef bouillon, and my pan's a little dry, so I'm going to add in some water. If your beef isn't as juicy as mine, you can add in water earlier. I'm adding in boiling water from my kettle because I want the temperature of the pan to stay high. And that way everything is going to continue cooking and I'm not going to cool down my pan. In total, I cooked this for about 15 minutes more, just until my carrots were soft and the plantains were cooked. Then I went in with those green onions just to freshen everything up a bit. Not only is this going to make everything look beautiful, but it's going to add a really nice flavor to this stew dish. I'm going to mix everything together and just let this all simmer together for about 1 more minute. And you are going to have a beautiful beef stew with plantain and carrots. This is awesome, served with that coleslaw. That just adds a nice refreshing taste to the meal. And then when you pair it with, of course, the classic white rice, I decided to add some candied yams and a salad on the side. Let me know if you are going to try this recipe. I love you guys, and thank you for supporting this channel. God bless and goodbye.